So, quarterback was set. Remember that? Like just a couple of weeks ago? Good morning to you. Good Monday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Steelers. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into hockey and/or baseball, I also offer daily shots of Penguins and Pirates in the same place that you found this. The Steelers will resume practicing tomorrow in advance of their Sunday game in Cincinnati. They'll have today off. Well, the players will anyway. The coaches are going to be really hard at work. And part of what they're going to be discussing, I'm sure, will be their usage of both, and I underscore both, Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. Now, I'm pretty comfortable putting forth here that we would all agree that bringing Fields in for that final drive when Russ had been 18 of 22 to that point wasn't Arthur Smith's best move. And of course, by extension, Mike Tomlin's. Yeah, the snow was super heavy and all that other stuff, but you needed to get down the field. Specifically, you needed to make sure you're getting first downs. And when the pivoting point of the entire game gets condensed to Fields putting up a 50-50 prayer for George Pickens in the snow, then you probably deserve whatever fate was going to follow. But you know, now we're 2 weeks into this thing. Fields went from 3 snaps to 8 snaps to being chosen to lead this really, really important drive. So what we know for certain right now, even before getting to Cincinnati, is that this thing is real. This thing where they're both going to play. With the split, for all we know, becoming even more even as time goes by. And, you know, this is the point of the program where I would love to come up with some sort of blazing take for you on who should be the quarterback or how much they should be splitting things. But guess what? Guess what? I've instead got something insanely boring for you. I would like to see that decision made based almost entirely on how the offensive line performs. I'm sorry. I don't mean to keep going back to that again and again and again, but it's issue 1. And if you consider the quarterbacks to be issue 2, then I would say that it's also issue 2. If you consider the running backs to be issue 3, then it's 3 as well, because everything is tied to how those guys do and how Smith and Tomlin either do or don't adjust to it. Look at it this way. If they, or specifically Pat Meyer, the offensive line coach, do their jobs and pick the best people, put the best people on the field, and call schemes that are suited to their performance level, not their skill level, not their potential level, but how they're actually performing. And if you deem that they are performing poorly, well, A, you'd be right, and B, you'd find a way around it. Oh, look, we can't trust these guys to block. We certainly can't trust them to block a play like this, or a pass like that, or a rollout from Russ that takes too long to develop. So we're not going to do that. We're instead going to do this other thing over here. We're going to do it in a way that works with the people that we have and the performances that we're getting out of them. You will recall, those of you in particular who were coming at me over not liking Russ or being a Fields guy or whatever other nonsense anyone might have related to playing favorites with these guys, that my number one concern, and you can go back and listen to those shows from 2-3 weeks ago, was that I thought Russ would get killed behind these guys. Now, it is to his credit, and to the credit of all concerned, including, at times, the line itself, that didn't happen. But it began to happen against Baltimore, and it really happened in Cleveland. The blocking in the Cleveland game was a joke. It was a joke from the pass blocking standpoint, guys getting shoved back, even Zach Frazier, even Isaac Seumalo, names you're not used to including on lists like these. The run blocking wasn't any better, and arguably, actually, it was even worse. And as a result, and you saw this, Russ was far from being at his best, even though I'll acknowledge, as I did earlier, he had the high completion rate and he had snow, like lots and lots of snow. But I can't be the only one who thought this train of thought that I'm thinking, because it was Smith and Tomlin who put Fields out there at the end. Oh, boy. Where's all this going to go? I don't know. I mean, Russ is going to be the starter. Fields is going to be involved. But I hope not to become a broken record on this. None of this is going to matter if they don't fix what's up front or find a way to leapfrog it or something. When we come back, J1Q. Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George is a personal injury law firm in Western Pennsylvania that represents injured people in automobile accidents, workers' compensation cases, and medical malpractice claims. The attorneys at Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George pride themselves in doing what they say they're going to do. It's important to them that when they make you a promise, they keep that promise. And this law firm has been keeping promises for over 80 years. Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George has been AV rated. That's the highest rating a law firm can receive for legal ability and ethics. And the lawyers at the firm have been designated super lawyers, that's a real thing, for over 15 years. Rare combination there. Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George has offices in Cranberry, Newcastle, Beaver Falls, Butler, and Elwood City. Learn more about them at lgkg.com or by calling 888-842-5454. Again, that's 888-842-5454. 5454. Today's J1Q comes from Kyle Mundy, who asks, DK, the Steelers are showing their hand and telling the NFL that they're a run-first team, but that isn't working out. Would it be more successful to put a whole pile of passing on tape for other teams and earn the running gaps by keeping them honest? Years of this, and it's time to change gears. Those are two abysmal games in a row when they should be ramping up for playoffs. Kyle, I'm not going to disagree with any of that. I just happen to think it's a lot less narrative-based than that. I don't think the Steelers are trying to send messages to the rest of the league. I think the Steelers, no, I don't think this, I know this. The Steelers want to run, and they want to run and run effectively, and they want to run on first down. They want to run on second down. They even occasionally want to run on third down. And they want to do this in part because of how much they value time of possession, keeping the other team's offense off the field, and they see it all as just one big smooth segue from offense to defense to special teams, to offense to defense to special teams. Well, all of that's well and good if you can block. Come on, you didn't think a small bank of ads was going to change my thought process here, did you? I'm sorry. You can't have any of these conversations without the blocking first. You just can't. There's nowhere to go. There's no daylight here. Which, by the way, is a lot of what Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren see on first down and what they see on those inane 2nd and 9 calls that Arthur Smith's been making. I'm not going to lie or have a change of heart here. I love a lot of what Smith's brought. I love almost all of his mindset, but there does come a time to accept that there's a certain component, a key component to your offense that just isn't coming through. And the solution to that isn't always just to try harder. And that's what you see from this offense. They'll struggle like crazy in the first half. They'll come out for the second half. When they get possession, you know and I know that all they're going to do is run the ball the first 8-10 snaps, even if that takes 2 series, even if that takes 2 punts, because they're being stubborn. So what you're suggesting there, Kyle, even though it's a good idea in theory, and even though opponents over these past 2, but really 3 weeks, I would say, have brought a bunch into the box. Cleveland had 10 at times. It was ridiculous. And they're daring you to throw. They're saying, we don't fear you throwing at all. And then you go and you run right into it on 2nd and 9? I mean, what are you doing there? Are you trying to punish your offensive linemen for not being good? Like, we're just going to sit here all day, class, until you get this problem right. Well, that's not helping anybody. Save that for the middle of the week. What I would be doing here, and I'm not pretending to have, 1 millifraction of the football knowledge of these people that we're talking about, but just for fun, if I'm going to run a play again and again and again until they stop it, it's going to be quick snap, fire it to Freiermuth right behind the linebackers. And then I'll come back to the huddle and call the same thing. And then I'll come back to the huddle and call the same thing. You want to see those guys start scattering? You want to see that box soften up? You want to see maybe even some capable blocking because the lineman would develop some confidence? Yeah, I'd do that. But no, they won't. There's no chance of that, Kyle. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Steelers. Don't forget, today, this afternoon, specifically, we'll have another double shot of Steelers. Hope you'll check that out as well. Thanks so much for listening.